I know that very many of you have come to Meherabad under greatly difficult circumstances. Some of you have covered thousands of miles and even crossed continents to be at Meherabad today. It is your deep love for me that has braved all obstacles and prompted you to sacrifice your comforts and convenience to honor my call and to be near me today. Meher Baba, 1954.
What great fortune is this, to have come to the house of the Lord. His children are playing out their roles for him solely, even their liquid laughter, it is holy. Surely this is the home of the Christ. Surely this is the home of the Christ.
In 1921, Upasni Maharaj, one of the 5 perfect masters for this age, folded his hands before Meherwan S. Irani and said, "You are the avatar. I salute you." Meherwan, who had become known as Meher Baba, meaning compassionate father, began his work as the avatar of the age.
Age after age, when the wick of righteousness burns low, the avatar comes yet once again to rekindle the torch of love and truth. Age after age, through the noise and disruption of war, fear, and chaos, the avatar's call rings out, "Come all unto me."
In 1923, Avatar Meher Baba and a group of his followers moved from Bombay to Erangan, a small village near Ahmednagar in western India. This 16th century walled town, whose history can be traced to the Mughal period, had been the abode of saints and hermits for centuries. But now, this parched piece of land had fallen into ruin, the town inhabited by poor farmers. Meher Baba and his group had reached a dilapidated settlement next to the town that had been a British military camp, now belonging to the father of one, Adi K. Irani. To the amazement of the group, Baba said he would like to stay there. Work began almost immediately, cleaning, rebuilding, plastering, and whitewashing the tumble-down buildings. The hours were long and the diet meager: rice and lentils at midday, bread and potatoes in the evening. In 1925, Baba settled more permanently in Erangan. In the course of a year and a half, the settlement flourished and grew from a small outpost to a small town, giving rise to the name Meherabad, meaning Meher flourishing.
After several months, we settled down and the place gradually became known as Meherabad. For almost 2 years, until November 1926, it was like a small model town. In it lived about 500 souls, working in the hospital, the dispensary, and the schools. There were also ashrams for boys, men and women, and shelters for the poor and for lepers, all of which were established here in connection with my work. The more you work for me, the less important you feel in yourself. You must always remember that I alone do my work. I allow you to work for me so that you have the opportunity to use your talent and capacities selflessly and so draw closer to me. My work is your opportunity. But when you allow yourself to intervene between you and my work, you are allowing the work to take you from me. When you put my work before yourself, the work will go right, though not necessarily smoothly. And when the work does not go right, it means that you have put yourself between it and its accomplishment. The way of my work is the way of effacement, which is the way of strength, not of weakness. And through it, you become mature in my love.
In late 1926, Baba arranged to close all the institutions, and apart from the original post office building, the mess quarters, and Baba's cabin, all the buildings were dismantled. Baba explained,
Usually, a temporary scaffolding is set up around a big building which is under construction, and when the building is completed, the scaffolding is removed. Often my external activities and commitments are only the external expression of the internal work I am doing.
In 1927, Meherabad once again burst into renewed life and activity in the opening of the Hazrat Babajan School. This boarding school was open to boys from all religious and economic backgrounds. The curriculum placed equal emphasis on the spiritual as well as the educational development of the boys.
My first aim was to arrange for teaching the boys English through their various vernaculars by standards set up in the University of Bombay. Having accomplished this, I began to spend all of my time, day and night, on the general welfare and spiritual upliftment of the boys. Even though I had entrusted several mandali with the job of keeping watch over the boys round the clock, still I would frequently appear in the dormitory in the dead of night to see if they were well wrapped and sleeping all right.
In 1927, another structure appeared on the small rise nearby known as Meherabad Hill. A cavity was dug in the stony ground, and around this opening, walls were built from soft stone. The roof was tin sheeting. A doorway faced south, and a window faced east. From here, Baba would often give discourses to the schoolboys.
In the daytime, I spent most of the time in the upper room, which had 2 windows level with the floor, and at night I would retire into the crypt. One of the 2 windows in the upper room faced the Meher ashram on the east and was in line with a raised platform before the ashram. The boys in the mandali would sit on this, near me but outside my room, and I would give them discourses and carry on discussions with them with the help of my alphabet board.
This humble structure was ultimately to be Baba's tomb, and in 1927, Baba said,
When I leave this body, it will have its rest in the tomb on the hill. After 70 years, this hill will turn into a place of world pilgrimage where lovers of God, philosophers, and celebrities will come to pay homage to the tomb. How fortunate you all are that you are here in my living presence and that you could come up the hill with me. Those of you who have not seen the tomb before should go there, see it, and pay respects, with the firm resolve that you will try to love me wholeheartedly and that you would try your best to give happiness to others at the cost of your own happiness. Having made this resolve, try to follow up these 2 things honestly.
During 1927 and 1928, Baba spent 5.5 months on a fast of a little milk and a few cups of weak black tea. In the midst of this prolonged fast, Baba remained for 69 days in the tomb structure.
Whatever objective work is done by one of universal mind and infinite consciousness affects the whole scope of his working. If he fasts, the result of fasting is felt by the whole universe spiritually. If he observes silence, characteristic spiritual benefit accrues to the universe. Just as fasting in silence by an individual results in spiritual gain to the individual concerned, likewise fasting in silence by one of universal mind and infinite consciousness amounts to an ordeal suffered by the universe itself, resulting in spiritual betterment of the whole.
Now Meher Baba conveyed his wish for the construction of a more permanent building over his seclusion crypt. The ready-cut stone from a previously dismantled British post office would be used here. Under Baba's instructions, the doorway threshold and outer structure began to take shape. The crypt was lined and a floor of aggregate slabs laid. From this floor area, thick walls were built from the old post office stone. A steel girder braced the walls, and a dome rose majestically from the ceiling to form the roof. On the nearest rooftop corner, as one approached from Lower Meherabad, was a model of a Hindu temple to represent Hinduism. On the northeast corner was a model representing the sacred flame of Zoroaster, while on the northwest was a Christian cross. On the remaining corner was a model of a mosque representing Islam. In a newsreel made by Paramount Studios in London 1932, Meher Baba said,
"My object in coming to the West is not with the intention of establishing new creeds or spiritual societies and organizations, but is intended to make people understand religion in its true sense. I see the structure of all the great religions of the world tottering. The West is more inclined towards the material side of things, which has from untold ages brought in its wake pestilences, wars, and financial crises. I intend to bring together all religions and cults like beads on one string and revitalize them for individual and collective needs. This is my mission to the West."
Over the doorway of the tomb was inscribed the words, "Mastery in Servitude," in large golden letters, Baba's motto for all who follow him.
The dawn of love facilitates the death of selfishness. Being is dying by loving. If you cannot love one another, how can you love even those who torture you? The limits of selfishness are created by ignorance. When a man realizes that he can have a more glorious satisfaction by widening the sphere of his interests and activities, he is heading towards the life of service.
In November 1937, a number of Baba's Western followers were invited to be with him in the ashram on Meherabad Hill. 10 women from England, Europe, and America from diverse backgrounds came to live with Baba's Eastern women to work together in the household, gardens, and hospital. Tensions and disputes would often arise among the women, and Baba told them,
How can you help in this game of mine? By love and service, by control of your mind and moods, and yes, weaknesses, which are there for the purpose of exercising control over them. Often, the greater one loves, the greater is the tendency to moods, because the pangs of separation are more acute. But I do not like moods, and therefore, to please me, which is one of the best ways of showing your love for me, try your best to overcome them. A joyful heart will help you the most to get strong. A perfect being functions with complete detachment in the midst of the most intense activity and in contact with all forms of life. I will teach you how to move in the world, yet be at all times in inward communication with me as the infinite being.
Among the Western women at Meherabad was the Swiss artist Helen Dahm. She had first met Baba in Zurich in 1937, where she had lived alone for many years in a simple cottage in the country. In 1938, at the age of 60, she sold all her possessions, including her cottage, gave away her paintings, and set off for India to join the ashram on the hill and be with Baba. She was an unconventional and introverted woman used to solitude. She found ashram life very difficult. Baba told her,
You have come to India for the wrong reason. Instead of coming here in order to experience yourself, you should have come to experience Baba, to leave the ego which is always in the way. I will show you the path you must follow. I know that you have always been alone and isolated from people, but the path is through people, and you must try, and I will help you.
Helen Dahm had struggled her entire life to gain recognition for her art. Due to the prejudice of her time, however, as a woman artist, she was not accepted by the public and often not allowed to exhibit her work. She had come to India to find meaning in her life. Helen would make drawings and sketches for Baba while in the ashram, and at one point he directed her to paint the inside of his tomb with murals, including the walls, the inside of the dome, and the crypt. She did not even have her own brushes or paints, but had to use what was available from among the other Westerners living there. She was to say later that the 9 months she lived in India had more value than 20 years of living in Zurich. Upon her return to the West, she gained widespread recognition for her work. One exhibition followed another, and at the age of 70, she was accepted as the most important female painter in Switzerland. In 1954, she received the highest art award which the city of Zurich had to give. Never before had a woman received this award. The early 1930s had been a quiet period at Meherabad. The late 30s and early 40s saw an intense period of activity. The tomb had been rebuilt, the old water tower was remodeled, and at one point there were over 100 followers living at Upper and Lower Meherabad, the women living up the hill, and the men down beyond the railroad tracks. In October 1949, a new phase began in Baba's work that he referred to as the new life. He and a small group of men and women began a life of helplessness and hopelessness, traveling through India with almost no possessions or comforts, begging for their food, and traveling for the most part by foot. Baba said,
I have no cash except an amount which is kept aside for certain work. Everything I possess is to be disposed of. Nothing is to remain as my property and in my name except the Meherabad Hill premises on which the tomb for my bodily remains has already been built. And all should always remember that when I leave my body, it has always to be buried there.
On his return from the New Life travels in India, Baba began a period of seclusion in a place some 15 miles from Meherabad that became known as Meherabad. From this time on, Baba resided at Meherabad with his close ones, and only on occasions would visit Meherabad Hill. One such occasion was in September 1954, when he invited men from the East and West for a special meeting to spend 3 weeks in his company. On Tuesday, September 14th, he took his Western lovers up Meherabad Hill and showed them around his tomb, his cabin, and several other structures which were associated with his work over the years. Baba decided that all his Western visitors should stay together under one roof. So again, the large 2-story stone building which had served for years as a retreat for Baba's women followers was put to use. The large converted dormitory would house Baba's Western men followers for 3 weeks.
No explanations or discourses can compare with this personal contact. I want you to be completely natural and absolutely frank. While you are here, from now until you leave, I want you to forget everything about Europe, America, and Australia, and think only of Baba. If you had but one glimpse of what I really am, you would forget yourselves completely and be conscious only of God. I am one with you on every level, but you know this only when the ego and reason do not interfere. Then Baba appears as he is. I am what I am, whether the world bows down to me or whether it turns against me. It does not matter. It is no one's fault. To know Baba is not a matter of eating Indian sweets. One has to die to oneself to know me. It is not just a joke, this love. Be happy and forget everything except what you experience here. Don't worry about anything. Be cheerful, be honest, and look after your health.
These 3 incredible weeks offered the Western men a unique opportunity to participate in Baba's daily life of service to mankind. His mass darshan programs, when over 15,000 people came to receive his blessing, to share in his work with the poor and the lepers, to hear his spiritual discourses, and to be his intimate companions on a day-to-day basis, to receive his personal attention, love, and guidance in their own lives. During the 50s and 60s, Baba visited Meherabad only rarely, and even seemed to direct his followers' attention away from the tomb. At this time, he did not encourage people to visit the structure. And so, this once active and dynamic settlement that had seen schools, a hospital, a veterinary clinic, farming projects, and a colorful group of residents, visitors, and even exotic animals, slumbered in the baking sun and through monsoonal rains, awaiting its destined day. On 30th July, 1968, Baba said,
My work is done. It is completed 100% to my satisfaction.
On 13th October, 1968, Baba said,
Today I say, the time has come. Remember this.
On 31st January, 1969, news went out from India to Baba's lovers all over the world. Avatar Meher Baba dropped his physical body at 12 noon, 31 January, at Meherabad, to live eternally in the hearts of all his lovers. Beloved Baba's body will be interred at Meherabad, Erangel, on 1 February at 10 a.m. in the tomb he ordered to be built long ago. The first reaction from around the world to this news was utter disbelief. For in October the previous year, Baba had announced that he would give his darshan to his lovers all over the world from 10th April to 10th June 1969. There were many new followers who were waiting for the chance to see Baba but had been unable to do so because of his 3 years of seclusion. This announcement of a coming meeting was eagerly awaited by all who followed Baba. His close ones, however, were apprehensive of his physical condition due to the strain on his body from those 3 years of intense work. But he said,
It will be easy for me to give my lovers my darshan, so you are not to feel concerned about it. I will give darshan reclining, and that will be no strain on my body. It will be different from all previous darshans, and it will be the last in silence. Although I will be reclining, I will be very strong. My physical condition now is because of my work, but by then my work will be complete, and my exaltation will be great. It will be my glory.
One of his close followers in India reported, "Outwardly, to our eyes, Baba's condition deteriorated still further, and we wanted to take him to Pune for further tests. He refused to go and warned us that we should not try and take him against his wish. He said,
'If you want me to drop my body now, then take me to Pune. My condition has no medical grounds at all. It is due purely to the strain of my work.'"
And so, helpless before his will, we had to obey his will. At 12:15 p.m. on January 31st, Avatar Meher Baba dropped his body. In the evening, his body was brought to Meherabad. The sun was setting and the moon was rising as he was placed in the tomb for his lovers to take his darshan, fulfilling beloved Baba's word that he would give his darshan reclining. Of the Meherabad men and women who accompanied his body on the final journey to Meherabad, one describes, "Although we started out from Meherabad on that Friday evening with hearts numbed and empty, our hands had been kept occupied in doing the things that the Beloved would want us to do. In the midst of many practical details, we remembered to take along our gramophone and the record of Begin to Begin. Baba had told us many times over the years to play this song by his side when he dropped his body. And so on that night of 31st January and the next day, 7 times I played the song of Begin to Begin by his side. At first in the cabin where his body rested for a while, and later in the tomb. And while the song played, it seemed to convey to us his message that this was not an end, but a beginning. The beginning of his completed work bearing fruit.
Oh yes, let them begin to begin, make them pray. Tell us joys that will never return above you. Tell you, whisper to me once more, darling, I love you. And we suddenly know what heaven we're in when they begin to begin.
When Baba had been asked one final time about canceling the coming darshan program in April, considering the condition of his health, he had smiled and said,
"No, it is not to be canceled. I will give my darshan to my lovers. I will give it on my own terms."
And so a cable was sent out stating, despite Baba's physical absence, those lovers who desire to visit Guru Prasad in Pune to honor Baba's invitation for darshan up to the 10th June, 1969, can still come. And so it happened. Thousands of men, women, and children from the East and the West came to have the last darshan of their beloved Baba. Even those who had not seen or met Meher Baba in his physical form bowed down in their love for him. Francis Brabazon, the Australian poet who had lived for 10 years with Baba at Meherabad, said on that occasion,
"Though it is not the time yet for us to know the wine of his kiss on our lips, we have received the kiss of his word in our hearts. If it were not so, how could all you dear ones who have never seen him in his man form be here now? Who but the beloved of beloveds could speak his word silently in your hearts and make you come from across the world to take his darshan, to bow down to him in your hearts? Such a thing has never happened before. I have been at mass darsans where tens of thousands came and bowed down to his man form. But to come thousands of miles to bow down to him in one's heart is of an entirely different order of devotion. Why has beloved Baba given you people this extraordinary privilege? Because he requires a few to do what the many, what everyone must eventually do. Journey across the wall of illusion to take darshan of him in their hearts.
Today, people come from all corners of the earth to the tomb of Avatar Meher Baba on Meherabad Hill to bow down to him in their hearts.
What great fortune is this, to have come to the house of the Lord. His children are playing out their roles for him solely, even their liquid laughter, it is holy. Surely this is the home of the Christ. Surely this is the home of the Christ. What grand household is this? Who is the host and who is the guest? Each visitor receiving precious gifts unknown. The greatest treasure is to know his home is your own. Truly a gift from the Christ. Truly a gift from the Christ. What great fortune is this? We have come to the house of the Lord. He's standing in the doorway with his arms open wide, beckoning each traveler to step inside.